All right, let's get to the news. All right, this news is my favorite bit of news. Why is it my favorite bit of news? Because it is everything wrong with rings culture. James Harden, James, your boy, James, your namesake, James Harden, finally officially agreed to a 2-year, $68.6 million contract with a player option in the second year. So it's one of these 1+1 deals. So he can become a free agent next season. He agreed to it with the Sixers. He's taken like a $15 million pay cut because he opted out of his own player option that would have seen him make, I think, like what, 48-ish million. And he's now going to be making like, 33, 34 million. So, James, would you give up $15 million?
If I'd made as much money as Harden has made, I would certainly be looking at it differently. I'm right now. I would, you know, do just about anything you can imagine for $15 million, but that's because I've never had $15,000 in my bank account, so it's different. But he definitely deserves some credit though for taking a pay cut for the betterment of the team, and like kudos to Harden for that. In spite of the fact that ultimately it's an amount of money that he wouldn't have even missed because he has so much money in the first place. But
Yeah, and then it's one of those things where I kind of hate it because it's like it's also very much an amount of money the people that sign his checks would not miss if they could just pay him that and not have to worry about the salary cap, the luxury tax, all these punitive measures. But look, I think it's pretty cool that James Harden took a $15 million discount to rebuild a non-championship team of bringing in PJ Tucker, Daniel House, James Harden. Eric Gordon, by hook or by crook, is going to end up on those Sixers. I don't
it
know
feels
how,
that way, yeah.
but it really does. Him and Daryl Morey, and they're just going to rebuild the Houston Rockets of what was it, 2018-19? That team was like a 59-win team, I believe, right?
2017-18 was like a 63-win team, I think.
No, 17-18 was 59. It was 16-70 that was the 60-win plus
Oh,
team.
I get it confused. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Either way. Oh, because you're right. Because House wasn't on the 60+
Yeah.
win team. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're going to rebuild that team just instead of Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook on those teams. They're going to have Joel Embiid. So, I mean, like, that is that's an upgrade.
It's an upgrade, and Tyrese Maxey too. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess before we get off of this, two things. One, is there a Harden rebound? Because if Harden kind of gets back, maybe not to like peak Harden, but kind of where he was in Brooklyn before he pulled that first hamstring, this is one of the best contracts in the NBA, like just bar none. Do you think he's got that?
I don't know. See, it's a little bit difficult to assess for me because I don't know if the Brooklyn stats were a consequence of like a slight decline that led him to choose playmaking over scoring, or if that was a conscious stylistic shift in light of being surrounded by better offensive players. You know what I mean? Like, this is what's hard to gauge with Harden right now is like, is he passing more because he doesn't have the same burst, or is it because this is kind of how he prefers to play? Because he played this way in Houston too. Like, he led the league in assists as a Rocket. He started scoring 36 a night when Paul was injured and there was kind of nothing for him to do. So like I expected he'll have a pretty good year next year. I don't think he's gonna be scoring 36 points per game ever again. It's gonna be worth keeping an eye on. Like, does it look like he can still get buckets at will when he needs to me, that's gonna be kind of the fundamental question. Or has he full-time transitioned into more of like a facilitator?
Yeah. So reason why I asked this is I went to NBA.com, pulled James Harden's tracking data on drives because to me, drives are the most important thing for a player like him. He's always been near the top of the league in drives.
Yep.
It's like what the best perimeter players do now, outside of just unless they're amazing at shooting threes. His drives per game have been declining. Now it's not substantial, right? He maxed out at 19.6 and 18-19, but he was at 17.1 the season before. He's not last season, he was at 16 drives per game, right? What's interesting is that, and as you noted, his passing percentage per drive has been slowly rising. Now, does that mean he's declining as a scorer, or does that just mean like he's becoming a better, more well-rounded offensive player? And I think his final full season in Houston, he kind of was like the perfect harmonic mean between scoring and passing because he averaged zero point 0.7 points per drive. And that includes like, when you pass. And so you don't even shoot. And he also at that time got up to 37% pass percentage, which was a major jump from the season before at 31. And that season was also represented a big jump from 17-18 when he was at 23.5. So what we've seen since then is his points have decreased and his passing has slowly increased. So it's really, to me, it's going to be, as you said, does the scoring come back? And because last season, the field goal percentage was way down. It was at 46.9% on drives before he'd been above 50. If he can get that to like 50% again, which still would be below even that Brooklyn season, then he's back and then it becomes a great contract. But I think you're right. It's like if he's just slowly becoming, a pass first point guard, then it explains why, like, he didn't get that $48 million.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.